Thank you everyone for joining us this evening. My name is Desiree and this is Chris.
Hello.
What are we going to be talking about this evening?
We're here to talk this evening about being safe out there this winter in Manitoba on behalf of the Lifesaving Society.
And what is the Lifesaving Society?
Lifesaving Society is a charitable non-profit organization. We are dedicated to drowning prevention and injury prevention in, on, and around the water. We've been in existence since 1891, originally formed in London, England, and we've been in Canada doing training since 1896 and in Manitoba since 1911. And during that time, we've taught literally hundreds of thousands or millions of people at this point now to stay safe in, on, and around the water.
Oh, wow. So what does drowning prevention have to do with the winter? Is there a connection there? Does that happen?
There is. Unfortunately for us, annually, every year in Canada, we have on average 67 deaths that occur due to drowning in, on, or around the ice. The majority of those are related to snowmobiling, but we do have people who end up going in while they're walking, skating, or doing other activities. So it is something that we, as the Society, are concerned about, and we want to reduce that number of fatalities.
Is there any way we can prevent that from happening if that happens to us, or?
Certainly. I mean, first thing is, before you're going out on the ice, you want to be prepared. You want to make sure that you know where you're going, make sure it's safe. So our first recommendation is, if you're going out on the ice, always choose a body of ice that is actually designated, or, for example, in Winnipeg, the river trail at the Forks is something that every winter, the staff at the Forks, they check that every day. If you're going there, you know it's been tested, you know it's going to be safe. The same thing, the skating ponds that are in various city parks in Winnipeg or other locations around the province, those are tested, those are safe, as opposed to going out just somewhere random on the ice where you have no idea, is it thick enough, what are the water conditions underneath that could be causing weakness in the ice or anything like that.
And so with traveling as well, like winter roads, is there anything you should know about when traveling?
Certainly. If you're traveling again, you want to check the conditions. For designated winter roads in the province, those are checked on an ongoing basis by the provincial government. And so follow the provincial government's warnings and notices about those winter roads. If you're dealing with other travel, you're going out snowmobiling or something like that, follow the designated trails. If you're going out on a lake or the ice or something like that and you haven't been there before, there's no designated trail or anything, you really need to be checking the ice or having somebody check the ice to make sure it's going to be safe. And that's going to involve doing things like drilling some boreholes or whatever in the ice in multiple locations to make sure that it's thick enough. Looking at the other signs around. So, for example, ice around bridges and other solid structures that are sticking out of the ice, that's always weaker. And so if you're driving near any of those, whether it's a car, whether it's a snowmobile, you have to be aware that, there's the potential you're going to go through there. And so that needs to be checked. If you're going out on a lake, deeper lakes take a lot longer to freeze. So Lake Winnipeg, for example, we know that right now it's still open. There's a lot of bodies of water this year, especially in Manitoba, that normally by now would be totally frozen. There's still open water in a wide variety of locations. And so checking the ice this year, it's always important, but this year it's especially important to make sure that it's thick enough and that, that you're not going to go through. And if you do end up going through, well, again, we're going to talk a little bit later because we've got some materials here to demonstrate for everyone. But you want to have that equipment available, the safety equipment available, so that if you do go through, you're able to save yourself or save someone else.
And so that would pertain to when you're ice fishing or snowmobiling and you fall through the ice?
For sure, yeah. Ice fishing, snowmobiling, walking on the ice, skating, skiing. It doesn't matter. Anything out on the ice or even next to the ice, because there certainly are some locations in the province where even hiking trails or stuff like that are very near rivers, streams, lakes, and it's pretty easy to slip in. Or even something like if you're tobogganing on a slope that happens to be near a riverbank. What happens if you slide too far? You end up on thin ice. Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for the helpful info. Is there any other supplies that we should consider taking with us?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I can talk about that, and we'll do some demonstrations
Okay.
in a few minutes. And now we're actually going to do a PowerPoint that'll actually allow you to see some of that before I show you the physical equipment.
Awesome.
Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi everybody, so my name's Kevin and we'll be taking you through a little PowerPoint on some winter smart safety information. So first and foremost, the Lifesaving Society of Canada is a national volunteer organization, a registered charity with thousands of members working to prevent drowning and water-related injuries. Our mission is to prevent drowning and water-related incidents for all Canadians by providing program education, public education, research, and partnership. Preventable ice-related deaths. We ask that everybody needs to know the risks and be prepared and make every trip a round trip. So some statistics for you on drowning. There are over 500 people a year that drown in Canada. And between 2006 and 2010, there were an average of 67 deaths per year while snowmobiling, playing or walking near water or ice. So drowning is not just a summer activity or summer incidents. So what are people doing when they're getting into trouble in the winter with respect to drowning? Well, snowmobiling, playing on or near ice, walking on or near ice fishing is a big one, of course. And automobile travel, in particular in the northern communities where sometimes winter roads or ice roads are a standard part of your day-to-day travels. Snowmobiling as well, as we discussed, and again, walking near ice, even when you had no intention of going out on the ice, can be a risk. So let's talk about some of the other contributing factors. Alcohol, of course, is a factor. When you have an impaired sense of judgment, that can affect your ability to evaluate risks. Reduced visibility when operating both motor vehicles or off-road vehicles like snowmobiles can be a challenge as well. Lack of lighting in the dark, particularly if you're looking at snowmobiling out onto lakes or frozen rivers, that can be a big risk. Even navigating ice roads that are designated in a motor vehicle can be a challenge in the dark. Cold-related emergency, of course, can complicate any of those factors, and we're talking about hypothermia or exposure. Cold water, which might be surprised to know, but 365 days out of the year in Manitoba, the water is hypothermic levels in this province. So you can imagine what it's like out there today. Water conditions as well. So fast and strong currents make it harder for people to stay afloat, and it also erodes ice conditions from underneath. So that's something to consider. The conditions themselves. This year has been an interesting one because we had such a mild November and December leading into the holiday season, and ice conditions have not had a consistent environment for them to form. So we might get thin or soft or varying ice conditions, even in areas that historically have been safe at this time of year. Any open holes, either from past ice fishing incidents or activities, or other incidents in the past. And being by yourself, particularly when we're talking about traveling in rural and northern communities, even just being out on the roads by yourself can pose a great hazard. Speed, of course, we've all seen the ads, speed can kill. The same is true when you're talking about ATVs and snowmobiling out on frozen lakes or rivers. And if you don't have the proper safety equipment or no safety equipment, that can be a challenge as well. So make sure that you're prepared for these types of events. So let's talk a little bit about being ice smart. So the only sure prevention method is to stay off the ice completely. Bodies of water covered with ice are never 100% safe. If you choose to go out on the ice, always be ice smart and think safety first. Some of the warning signs of unsafe ice are ice around solid objects in the water is usually much thinner. So stay away from the moorings for bridges or docks or other environments like that. A water or slush visible on the surface of the ice is a sign that the ice below is not going to be safe to navigate. Pressure ridges on the ice surface indicate the ice is shifting as well. Now, this could be a particular danger for snowmobilers in the dark or in low light conditions, as you may not see them, and even sometimes in broad daylight with blowing snow, visibility issues can hide those pressure ridges and you can result in some form of a collision. Holes or cracks in the ice also can show you that you have either shifting water or shifting ice, and that can make the ice dangerous. Heavy snowfall on the surface of the ice can actually hide a lot of what we've been talking about, and that can be a risk as well. even designated ice roads or winter roads, once there's been a heavy snowfall, could have areas of risk that you can't simply see. So the signs that state danger and thin ice, again, are signs that we've got a problem in those areas and you should stay off. Of course, we only see those in areas that are well monitored and supervised. So remember, reduced visibility due to weather or darkness may conceal the warning signs. If you can't see the ice, stay off. Here's a little infographic on recommended ice depth for use in different types of activities. So if you're talking about out walking, you want to be about 4 inches of ice. If you are on a snowmobile, you want at least 5 inches of ice. And if you are in a vehicle, you're 8 to 12 inches of ice. If you are on a larger vehicle like a pickup truck, 12 to 15 inches of ice would be needed. So some clothing, equipment, and supplies. So wear a buoyant snowmobile suit. If you do not have one, wear a life jacket or PFD over an ordinary snowmobile suit or layered winter clothing. Children must wear a life jacket, PFD, or buoyant snowmobile suit when around ice. They should always be under adult supervision. Children not within arm's reach have gone too far, so keep kids close even when you're out in the winter with them. Have rescue equipment on hand whenever possible. Wear sunglasses to avoid a glare or snow blinding. And when snowmobiling, a closed face helmet can improve visibility and keep you warmer as well. Carry extra clothes in a waterproof bag if you can in your vehicle. And wear layers of clothing for insulation. This will protect you from both air and cold water temperatures. Carry all safe equipment on your body, otherwise it may sink if you break through the ice. Carry ice picks, we'll be going over some of this stuff shortly. Carry ice staff, carry 3 to 8 meters of rope. Pack a personal safety kit. Some of the personal safety kit items you want to see are things like waterproof matches, lighter, a flint match, compass, whistle, pocket knife, a cell phone or two-way radio. This kit will fit in a wallet-sized case to keep on your person if you can. Being sled smart, so when you're traveling on ice, your first choice should always be to avoid driving on ice. Bodies of water covered with ice are never 100% safe for your vehicle travel. If you do choose to travel on the ice, always be sled smart and think safety first. If you have to travel on ice, stay as close to the shore as possible on packed or marked trails. Keep away from unfamiliar ice and travel more slowly at night or when it is snowing to avoid outrunning your headlights and running onto thin ice or open holes. When traveling on ice, do not stop until you reach the shore using a steady and constant speed. And if traveling long distances on the ice, make sure that you have enough fuel, spare parts, and tools in case of a breakdown. If you go onto the ice in a car, truck, open the windows before you leave the shore. If you're going long distances and open windows are not an option, carry a hammer to break the window if necessary or some other form of window breaking device. Avoid parking vehicles on ice. This may increase the load beyond the breaking point of the ice. Going into the water in a vehicle is dangerous any time of the year, but especially during the winter. Your vehicle may float for as long as 3 seconds or as long as 3 minutes. Realistically, however, you only have about a minute to exit the vehicle safely. You will not be able to open your doors until your vehicle is full of water. The deeper your vehicle sinks, the harder it is to escape. Acting right away increases your chances of survival. Rescuers will not be able to reach you fast enough to get you out of the vehicle. You must self-rescue. Stay calm, don't panic. Do not touch your cell phone. Seatbelts, undo or cut your seatbelts off. Windows, open or break your side windows so you can get out. Children, release them from their restraints with the oldest to the youngest, and then get out through the window. Children first, back or front. Some snowmobile safety. On roads, use roads only to cross. Stop completely before proceeding and cross at a 90-degree angle to the road. Roads are not trails and shouldn't be used as such on a snowmobile. Railways, look before crossing. Never ride between the rails, as it may be hard to get out of the way quickly should there be oncoming traffic, and avoid railways whenever possible. Transmission lines, guide wires attached to the ground. Keep an eye out for those. Wires can be very hard to see, almost invisible amongst the snow. Pay careful attention to your surroundings when around transmission lines. For any other information, please contact the Lifesaving Society Manitoba branch with any questions, comments, or feedback. And we'll head back to Chris and Desiree right away.
So Chris, is there any equipment you'd like to show us?
Certainly. Kevin's just actually spoken a lot about that as he's gone through the material on the PowerPoint slideshow. As you can see, while we were on break, I put on my PFD here. It may seem strange, and a lot of people say, well, I'd never do that. What do I need a life jacket for in the middle of the winter? As Kevin has said, though, if you go through the ice, there's a very real chance you can sink really, really quickly, and you want to have something that makes you float. And the one I'm wearing right here, right now, this is an inflatable PFD. So if you're out snowmobiling or something like this, it doesn't take up a lot of weight. It fits easily over your snowmobile suit or anything like that. This is going to give you the chance to use any of the other gear that I have got here to show you. Because basically, if you submerge, and let's say you're snowmobiling on a river, the current could pull you under the ice. You're not going to be able to make it back up to the surface. Whereas if you're floating, then you have a chance to use all the other things. Kevin mentioned a few things, so I can demonstrate as well. So we mentioned an ice staff. So we actually have one here. You can use a walking stick as well, that's fine. But essentially, long pole, it allows you to balance as well on the ice because more points of contact always make it easier on a slippery surface. The thing about an ice staff is it does have a spike or some sort of point on the top. You can flip this upside down and quickly check the ice conditions in front of you if you're concerned about, oh, that ice looks kind of maybe yellow, gray, there might be some cracks. Before I get there, I've got 4, 5, 6 feet of distance that allows me to check things. Kevin also mentioned that personal safety kit. And so for that, one of the things he mentioned was ice picks. So again, these are a big safety tool we highly recommend. They would go around your neck. They would go through the sleeves of your jacket, just like mittens that you probably had as a kid.
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't lose them. And the whole idea of ice picks are that if you end up in the water or in danger on the ice, these ones have safety guards, but essentially they are spikes.
Oh.
And so if I'm in trouble, I can hammer those down into the ice to stabilize myself. If I'm in the water, they'll allow me to grab the edge, because if you've ever been around ice with water on top of it, ice by itself is slippery. Ice with water on top is much slipperier. There's not a huge amount of grip. So if you can actually hammer into the ice, then you have a much better chance of stabilizing yourself and potentially even pulling yourself out. And it's really important, if you are going to use these, you actually, when you fall in, first thing, even before you use these, you actually want to turn around, because the strong ice is the ice that's behind you, not the stuff that's in front of you. Because if I was walking along, I already fell through by walking forwards, but the strong ice is behind me. So I have to turn around. I don't want to do that to the camera because then you can't see me, but you would spin around, hammer them in, and depending on the type of ice, you may be able to actually just pull yourself out by walking your hands. You might actually have to semi-swim, so kicking your legs to get yourself level, climb out. And using these again to pull yourself further and further away from that broken edge of the ice, crawling once it's safe, or rolling away, not standing up because you don't want to fall through again. Once you're out, you can use some of that other personal safety gear. So for example, a whistle. Highly recommend that you've got one. It should be plastic and it should be peelless. So we've got a Fox 40 brand here, but there are other whistles on the market, and basically in plastic, because in the winter if you've got a metal whistle, it's going to freeze to your lips, and we don't want that to happen. It's not going to be useful for you. Peelless, so it's got no little particle of cork or an actual pea inside of it, so that when it is soaking wet, it will still make noise. Because again, if I got water in there and I've got a cork or something, it could freeze in place. The whistle's now useless. So the peelless design, again, there's several designs out there. Have one. This one's got a wrist strap, so I can either wear it like this, or, again, depending on your style of life jacket, you can clip it on. Having something like a compass, so that once you get out, if your vehicle's gone through the ice, your maps have gone through the ice, if you know the area, okay, which way do I need to go to get to safety? Now, that might be following the ice road. It might not be, depending upon where you are or what you're doing. Pocket knife as well. Useful in multiple circumstances. If you have packed other safety gear, the can opener, etc. is going to be useful. The blade itself, making mini kindling for starting a fire to keep yourself warm once you've gotten out. Dry off your clothes or whatever else you need to do. Kevin mentioned when he was talking about the vehicle escape, this happens to be an escape tool. So it's got a window punch on one end. If I smash that into my window, a metal spike pops out and breaks the window. And it also has a seatbelt cutter, so that if I have to slice my seatbelt to get out of the vehicle because my seatbelt is jammed or whatever, I can still get out. It comes with a handy connector. I can stick that, on my rear view mirror, on my key ring or whatever, so it's hanging out of the ignition. I can easily grab it when I'm in trouble. Again, if you can't get one of these, having a simple hammer, again, secured somewhere in the vehicle so you can smash your way out if necessary, does exactly the same thing. It just doesn't give you the blade in case your seatbelt gets jammed. Flashlight. We recommend an LED flashlight. They tend to use less battery power and they tend to be brighter. And you can get models nowadays, and I won't shine this in anyone's eyes, but this model we have here has a strobe light function, so that it can be seen from a far distance, and it's going to attract more attention.
Okay.
Of course, again, you made kindling with your knife. You should have some waterproof matches.
Oh, wow.
Okay? So again, if I get soaking wet, I can still make my fire. Okay? And we recommend multiple methods. So waterproof matches are great, but have a lighter. You don't have to smoke, but have a lighter. Again, it's an alternate method. I can get a fire going. Having other things that you can light besides kindling. So tea lights are great. You can get bigger candles. Okay, these will help warm up a vehicle, but again, if you have something like this or the tea lights, we want something to hold them safely and securely, so we're not starting a fire or anything in our car. We don't want to drop a candle or something on our lap, and then poof, your winter jacket goes up in flames. So carry cases like this. This is a simple version. There are other versions out there. You can get candles in a can that have got high edges. Whatever works. There's lots of different styles out there. Find something that's going to work for your vehicle, for your packing, so you can do it. Having a throw bag. Okay, Kevin mentioned rope when he was talking about your safety kit. This is an easy way to carry a bunch of rope, and if you've never seen a throw bag before, essentially the idea is the bag is full, in this case, of 50 feet of rope. I can hold one end, I can toss it out, and because the rope's in the bag, it doesn't kink, it doesn't knot up. I can easily reach out to a person who's gone through the ice so that I don't have to go on the ice. I'm going to stay safe on shore, get it to them, be able to pull them out. Whereas if I go out on the ice, if the ice is already broken in one spot, those cracks could be spreading. I could end up in the water too. Now we've got two patients. Okay. Now you don't have to have a fancy throw bag. You can have a coil of rope in your back seat. That's fine, or your trunk. And if worse comes to worse, you don't have any rope, an extension cord will actually work. You can loop it up. You can turn it into a lasso type space so that the patient has something to grab onto.
And should you be standing?
When you're throwing it, yes, because that's going to give you better throwing. When you're pulling them in, you're going to want to get low, okay? Because again, if they're pulling really hard, I don't want to end up on the ice and end up going through. So yeah, pulling them back, depending on the conditions, you might be kneeling, you might be lying on your stomach. Yeah. Of course, in Manitoba, we should already know this, but having the shovel, okay? Again, if you're worried about space, there are collapsing shovels.
Oh,
Okay?
wow.
Oops, and yeah, I always do that when I pull this one out. Okay. Okay, there you go. So now I've got a little bit more distance. I can pull out this. I can dig out my car. I might be able to make a shelter for myself, depending on the conditions if I'm out in the bush. And then once I'm finished with it, okay, collapse it back down. It takes up less space. Fits better in a backpack or a safety kit. First aid kit. Again, we highly recommend. You're going to get cuts and scrapes if you're out there in the woods, you're getting hurt, you're going through the ice. If you're on a snow machine or something, very easily to cut yourself. Okay? Again, if you're driving, having safety lights. Come on. Okay, it worked before the show. It doesn't like me now. Well, the whole idea is you have a wand. This one actually is supposed to have 3 lights, flashlight at the end, red caution light that will either blink or be steady. So again, if you've got an accident scene, this also works as a beacon so that people aren't going to run into the back of your car when you're out on the road. Now, for all of these, have something to keep them safe and dry. So the personal safety supplies, Kevin showed you the slide earlier of the personal safety kit. You want to have something like a waterproof sack to put everything in. Because again, if you go through the ice, if half this stuff gets soaking wet, it's not going to work. So waterproof match is great, but my compass can ice up, my flashlight can short circuit. So if you stick everything into...
Well, I was going to say, like, it's all really, like, small stuff, too, so it's easy to carry.
It is.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about dry bags like this, roll them down. If I push the air out, this, once it's packed together, I can easily fit this into any parka pocket. Okay?
And it's yellow too, so if you need to like see it right away, you don't have to really look.
Exactly. And
Stands
we
for that.
highly recommend that if you're using this as safety gear, get high contrast colors. So a safety yellow, a safety orange, a safety red, those are going to show up and they're going to help you get assistance. And actually, that's a very great question and very great point, because we also recommend have a survival blanket with you. Most commercial safety kits have one of these in them. You can pick them up separately. This one's been open because we've used it for lots of demonstrations, but again, it's safety orange.
Oh, wow.
Okay, it's big, it's shiny. It reflects your own body heat. We'll let you
Oh, okay.
do the honors.
All right. And it
Okay.
matches my scarf.
It matches your scarf, exactly. So you can wrap yourself up. You're actually going to probably find as you stand there, we give it about 30 seconds.
I already feel it.
You're already going to feel
I already
warm
feel
because it's putting your body heat back at you. And if you're out in the middle of the lake or the woods, again, you're bright, you're visible.
Yeah.
And the fun thing is, they fold up really, really small because that is
And this is huge.
this. Yeah,
Oh,
and
wow.
that's a 2-person blanket. You can get smaller 1-person, you can get larger 4 or 5-person. Having something like a wind-up radio. Okay.
Oh, that's...
We won't turn it on for feedback purposes on
Okay,
the microphone,
yeah.
but a wind-up radio can give you weather reports again if you're out there. Some of them, like this model, has a USB port, which means you can charge things like your cell phone. If you happen to be in cell phone range, of course, many areas of the province, unfortunately, you won't be. But you may be able to get one that might connect to your satellite phone, which is going to give you more distance. It all depends. So again, even if it's just getting the weather reports, that can be a lifesaver and the difference between going through the ice or not. Oh, there's a snowstorm coming. We're going to head back now instead of waiting 4 hours. Okay?
Yeah.
Because in 4 hours, it's a whiteout. We can't get in. Finally, extra blankets, extra tarps, never go wrong. Extra warmth, extra protection. You can create a shelter, warm yourself up, provide emergency wrapping to yourself, etc. So you're going to stay protected when you're out there. Again, they take up a little bit more space than the survival blanket, but they give you different options depending upon what you need. So obviously there's a lot more we could talk about, and there's
Yeah.
lots of different things that can show up in different kits, but these are basics that we highly recommend to everybody. And if you want more information, as Kevin said, there is information on our website, and we'll show those links again later on so that people can check in if they need to.
Okay.
And actually, I think at this point I get to welcome up a guest, don't I? So I believe we have Carmen here from ABC Fire and Safety.
All right, so thank you for joining us today. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. Thank you to the Lifesaving Society for having me out to talk about one of our kits that we sell at ABC Fire and Safety.
Oh, okay. Can you tell us more about it?
Sure. So we've been talking a lot about drowning and falling into the ice. Now this is more something that you would carry in your vehicle with you, whether you're going to get you break down on the side of the highway. We know we have our northern remote places that we'll all be driving to or we drive from. So this is something you'd like to keep in your vehicle, snowmobile, something like that, that has a few items in here that are going to keep us safe. So all you got to do is open this up, and you got a whole bunch of a whack of different things in here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you got, first of all, a mini first aid kit. So, it's just got Band-Aids and stuff.
Yeah.
This kit itself, if you can see, is for one person for 72 hours. Or 2 people for 36 hours.
Oh, okay.
At ABC Fire and Safety, we do sell for one person for 36 hours, a lot cheaper, are more cost effective. So yeah, so you got your first aid kit, Band-Aids, alcohol swabs, etc. We also have, just like Chris was showing, we've got the space blankets. This is going to keep
okay.
warm, also nice and compact for you.
So small.
And if you're like me and you need your coffee, and it's going to help keep you warm as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So inside here then, so you got 5 packages of those, you got your other space blankets. Now, we have some candles. What the difference is between these candles and the candles that Chris may have been showing you, these ones are edible. So Desiree, I'm going to have you try the candle and let the viewers see what, just so that they can see that it's actually edible. So take a good bite.
Is it flavored?
I'm not sure. I haven't tried one.
Thanks. So do I just take a bite?
Just take a bite. I've got another thing for you to try after that too. So when you need calories, these will be calories for you to help keep you warm, give you some calories. How is it? Waxy.
Yeah.
You also may want to.
This is the first.
You also may want to make sure you don't have a flame on here and have it
Yes.
lit.
Makes sense.
We also have these pre-packaged bars. These can be made as porridge, so I'll get to the part after to show you how to make porridge with them. Or you can eat them as bars themselves. So this is it's another thing I'm going to get you to try. I bet you didn't know you were going to be doing this today.
No,
So
I didn't.
just give it a shot so that the viewers know that it is, again, something that you can eat.
Okay.
That might be better than the candle.
Oh yeah. It's like one of those sugar cookies.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's enough calories. You should be able to have, half of one every, quarter of the day or so. Just try to keep your calorie intake, but try to, not eat them all at once, even though you might like them a lot. All right, so there's also little things of soup in here. So the thing that they've tried to do is to keep stuff that's going to keep you warm. So you got some, this one I think is a beef. Yep, beef. There's some chicken in here too. There's some sugar for your coffee. So you have to give you some more calories. And then also...
That would last me 1 cup. Maybe.
All 5.
I love sugar.
And some coffee whitener too.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's got everything in here that you're going to need. This is a stove. So this is going to help you.
Wow.
You do not want to eat snow when you're stuck on the side of the road. It's going to lower your body temperature. It's going to make you colder. And what you want to do is conserve as much heat as possible. So what you'd want to do is to make your water, you'd want to use the stove. And this all comes in this fancy little package. You got your waterproof matches. Now, what Chris was saying that this pack doesn't have that you should also be traveling with, You you want your extra blankets, your boots,
Yeah.
extra clothing, winter clothing. You always want to make sure you have those with you. You also want to make sure jumper cables is a good idea to have in your vehicle as well. You know, make sure you're always fueling up before you're going on a long trip, so that in case you do break down, you're able to hopefully still start your car and, you know, start it, you know, once an hour for 15 minutes just to keep you warm if the candles aren't doing the trick in the space blankets. So yeah, this is pretty much the 2-person kit. I'm glad you
It's all this stuff just fits in here.
in this little.
That's amazing.
Yes. Oh, and you know
Like,
what?
there's so much in there. You got a stove.
Yeah.
Like, that's awesome.
And then what you can use, this part is actually used as a bowl.
oh,
So
okay.
you would heat up your stuff in here and actually crumble these into the water, and you end up with porridge.
Yeah,
That's
makes
how you make
sense.
the porridge. And then this is used as a digging tool. So if you see the
ridges.
yeah, and also so you can signal people using the reflection on the edge. So, or on the other side. So yeah, there's a ton of different usages for this one kit,
Yeah, no,
and will help you.
that is awesome.
Yeah, help you to stay safe on the side of the highway.
Yeah.
Another thing is also the road flares, which Chris touched upon as well.
Yeah.
To have road flares to make sure people
See you.
can see you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, come on down to ABC Fire and Safety and buy yourself a kit. It'll be
Yeah.
very simple, and if you're like me, you like it simple. And I'll let you put this all back together for
Thank
me.
you, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.